What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the show. Okay, so today I want to talk about the economy. I want to talk about the stock market and how that's going to affect people who are thinking about retiring, people who are retired, newly retired, and people on Social Security, because believe it or not, that does have an effect. So that's what we're going to focus on today. But first off on this channel, we talk about personal finance and what's going on in Washington, D.C. If that sounds like something interesting to you, please subscribe to the channel and hit that little bell notification. That way you get notified anytime we put out a video. And like always, if you see my name and a picture of me in the comment section, make sure you see a check mark next to my name. That check mark signifies that it's me. If you do not see that check mark, it's not me. It's someone trying to impersonate me. Okay, so I want to take a look at what's going on when it comes to the stock market. And I don't want to look day to day. A lot of people, they look day to day. The stock market was up yesterday. The stock market was down today. We need to step back and we need to look month to month, year to year, because that's what really matters. When we can compare the stock market the way it was a year ago to the way it is today, that's more important than looking at the day to day, because it's going to go up and down. We know that. But why is this important? Why are we focused on the stock market? Because if you have a 401k, if you have a 457, and also if you're receiving Social Security, you want the economy to be doing good. If the economy is doing good, that means more people are working. If more people are working, they're contributing to Social Security. If there more money contributed to Social Security, that means more benefits. Okay, so it's very, very important that our economy does well. Now, we're looking at a situation just today. We're going to find out the Federal Reserve will be raising rates again. So we're going to find that out. That's going to affect the stock market. That's going to affect our economy. At the current time, inflation's at an all-time high. So guess what that means? That means that the Federal Reserve is trying to slow things down. They're trying to cool off our economy. And the way that they're doing that is they're raising interest rates. If you raise interest rates, that should cool off the economy. And what that means is less people are willing to borrow money. You have less people willing to borrow money, that will slow the economy down, because we're at a situation now where people are just spend. And you need to get to a point where people start thinking, okay, you know what? I don't need to borrow any money because interest rates are too high, so I'm going to slow it down. We see the housing market. That's a good example. The housing market is through the roof. And the only way that you're going to slow it down is by raising those interest rates, because less people will be willing to buy a house with a higher interest rate than they were before when the interest rate was pretty much zero. Okay, so that's what we're looking at when it comes down to it. So when we're looking at the stock market, I'm going to look at a few, pull up my little cheat sheet here, and we're going to talk about a few of the numbers. Okay, so we saw the worst month in March. Okay, worst month since 2020. So we're going back to the pandemic. That's how bad the numbers were in March. Now, when it comes to April, the S&P dropped 8.8%. The Dow dropped 4.9%. The NASDAQ dropped 13.3%. And when it comes to the NASDAQ, these are the worst numbers since 2008. And so the NASDAQ has been doing good for years and years, and now we're starting to see kind of a downtick. Okay, so I guess people could say we're in a bear market now when it comes to the stock market. And so when we step back and look at March, we saw the worst numbers, right, since 2020. And then when we think about it, that's when the Federal Reserve raised interest rates. The Federal Reserve will be raising interest rates today. So are we looking at May as another real bad month when it comes to the stock market? We're just going to have to wait and see how that plays out. Now, there's some other factors, too, when it comes to inflation. And that the whole reason for this is to lower inflation, right? So that means when you go to the grocery store, you don't have to pay as much for that carton of eggs. But there's going to be some sacrifices, okay? And what we're looking at right now is we still have supply chain problems. And the reason that we have supply chain problems is because China has a zero tolerance for COVID. And so they are shutting things down. They don't waste any time when it comes to shutting things down. And when they shut things down, guess what? That means less products are coming to the U.S. Less products coming to the U.S. means the demand will still be there, but the supply won't. And if you have a limited supply, that means that prices are going to go up on those products. And so that's what we're looking at when it comes to a lot of the electronics and things like that. And Apple has already indicated that they anticipate if the supply chain stays the way it is, they're going to lose about $8 billion. Okay. And guess what? They're not just going to take that loss. They're probably going to pass that cost on to the consumer. So when you go to buy an iPhone or any Apple product, you might have to pay more because now they're just not going to take the loss. And so when it comes to the stock market, when it comes to our economy, inflation, that's what we're looking at. That's the big picture right now. Now, I did have some people in the comments. They were asking me different questions, and I always like to address questions, especially if I start hearing things over and over. A couple of days ago, I posted a video. I was talking about state stimulus, okay? And someone came back, and they appeared to be angry in the comment, saying, why are you talking about state stimulus? Why aren't you talking about that forced stimulus check that's coming? Okay, so let me address this. When it comes to a forced stimulus check, we're talking about from the federal government. There's no talk of a forced stimulus check right now, okay? And if you're hearing that from someone, maybe on YouTube, or you're reading articles and they're telling you there's going to be a forced stimulus check, they're not being honest with you. Because of that, as of the current time right now, there are no politicians that are talking about a forced stimulus check. And what they're really talking about is doing the reverse. Okay, they don't want to stimulate the economy anymore. The federal government is they want to cool the economy down. They don't want to stimulate the economy. The fact that they were talking about gas rebates, that's good, but they've kind of pulled away from that as well. You don't really hear the federal government talking about gas rebates or anything like that. They're talking about other methods, but the gas rebate is kind of gone away. And when it comes to politicians, I think what they do and what they like to do a lot of times is they like to just kind of talk through problems, but not really do anything. Okay, say, you know what? Yeah, we should do a gas rebate. Oh, yeah, you know what? That sounds good. Let's do a gas rebate. And they start just passing it around. They just continue talking about it, and they hope that gas prices will stabilize or start to drop. And then once they do, then they just forget about it. Oh, you know what? We didn't want to do that gas rebate anyway. So when it comes down to it, forced stimulus check. No one is talking about a forced stimulus check right now, okay? If they start talking about it, guess what? I will be the first one to let you know. But if you are hearing information where people are telling you there's going to be a forced stimulus check, it's coming next month, they are not being honest with you, okay? And I'm willing to bet, money on it, that they're not being honest with you. So if they're coming to you and saying, this is what's happening, you're going to get a $1,400 stimulus check, they're talking about it. They're not. They're just not, okay? And I do a lot of research when it comes to putting out content. I look at everything, and I have not heard any politicians talking about a forced stimulus check as of any time current, okay? So I just want to get that out of the way, because the fact that I'm talking about the stateside stimulus, guess what? States are talking about stimulus. They're talking about stimulus checks. They're talking about gas rebates. They're moving forward with legislation. We have a few states that have already passed legislation when it comes to that. And if you guys want to know more about that, I'll have a link at the end of this video so you can check the stimulus that's going on in different states. Now, it's not every state, but you do have some states that are participating, okay? Another thing that we need to think about when it comes to states, and this should be one of those things where you contact your assemblyman, you contact your senators in the state, you contact the governor, and you should ask them one question: is there a surplus? Because if there's a surplus, why aren't they sharing that with the people in the state? Because there's a lot of money has gone out in the last couple of years. Okay, the federal government was pushing a lot of money to these states. And a lot of these states still have that money. And some of them say, you know, we're saving it for an emergency, but they have money. And that's why they're able to have the surpluses they have right now. And I had some people in the comments saying, well, Texas is not offering anything, Minnesota is not offering anything, and you need to talk to those people. You need to talk to those politicians. Okay, so I'm going to round out this video just by saying this. Look, we're looking at a situation where things are they're not going to get any better anytime soon. Okay, and I don't like to be the doom and gloom when it comes to these videos, but I have to give you guys the reality, okay? I'm not here to sugarcoat things. When it comes down to it, the Federal Reserve is pretty much trying to cool off our economy, and that might push us into a recession, and a recession will be bad, especially people on Social Security. It's going to be bad for the economy because you're going to have less people working. If you have less people working, that means less people contributing to the payroll tax, which means less benefits for Social Security. And that's a bottom line. That's how it works. Now, if you're thinking about retiring, or you're newly retired and you have a 401k or 457, it's bad for you as well, because if the stock market's not doing well, that can affect you. And that is affecting your 401k and your 457. It's affecting them. And so the bottom line here, we need to pay attention. We need to know what's going on in the stock market. We need to know what's going on with the economy. And I'm here just to bring you that information. So if you appreciate that, I appreciate you. Please consider subscribing and hitting that little bell notification. And that's it. That's all I wanted to talk about today. If you guys have any questions, post them down below. Hit the like button on your way out, and I'll talk to you in the next one. Bye.